Órale, Cholo Trucker, M.A.S movies and shows, and here we have the movie The Night Stalker. Now, there's quite a few movies called The Night Stalker, right? If you go back to the 70s, I think there's a newer one, I think in 2023. It has nothing to do with Richard Ramirez, though. But anyway, man, look, I went ahead and I cut the cord, right? I don't have cable anymore. So I was going through a few apps and I saw this, what you guys see here on the screen. I'm like, orale, man, there's a movie of Richard Ramirez. I remember Richard Ramirez. I remember being a little kid and I mean it's no laughing matter, but and my mom and my tias, man, are always saying like, hey, make sure you lock the windows, make sure always making sure they close the windows and lock it, and but they're putting palos there, man, so nobody could open the window. But anyway, I was like, oh, okay, I've never heard of this movie, right? And they got Lou Diamond Phillips playing Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. I never heard of this movie. I guess it's a Lifetime movie. I'm not really sure. I think that's where it originated from. I actually saw it on YouTube, believe it or not. You guys could go ahead and catch it on YouTube. So I went ahead, I watched it with my beautiful, crazy loca wife. We're kind of reminiscing about us being kids and the family talking about the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, right? So let me just go ahead and tell you guys a little bit about the movie. So the movie itself, to the best of my knowledge, actually came out in 2016. Like I said, I never heard of this movie. I never heard of Lou Diamond Phillips playing Richard Ramirez. So the movie is not too much about the story of Richard Ramirez. It's actually more about a lawyer who originally was from California, but now is out in Texas, comes back to California because she's trying to get a confession from Richard Ramirez that would exonerate somebody who's looking at the death penalty out in Texas. For those who don't know, Richard Ramirez was from Texas, and um, she's trying to get him to confess to a murder of an Asian woman and her son. And but she just can't go up to him and say, "Hey, I want you to confess to this," right? She's trying to gain his trust. So she's doing these visitations, she's talking to him, she's trying to get in his head, she's trying to, get him to come out and open up to her. Now, in the midst of all this, you do go back in time. It does show in the movie going back in time and seeing Rich Ramirez as a kid, as a young man, and things of that nature. So, but don't think you're going into this movie and this whole entire movie is just about Richard Ramirez and his upbringing and all that. It does have a little bit of that. Do not get me wrong. It does have a little bit of that. Enough. I would say it has enough of it to satisfy the needs of, oh, okay, man, it's a story of Richard Ramirez. But in reality, the main story is this lawyer trying to get a confession out of Richard Ramirez and her through her struggles as well. It's showing her struggles in her life and what she's going through. And, it goes back the connection that she had with Richard Ramirez, right? She was a young girl, um, just watching the news, hearing of Richard Ramirez, terrorizing at nighttime, being the night stalker, right? So it's not exactly what I thought it was gonna be, but it definitely worked. Now, is this actually true? I don't know, man. I did not go back and fact check it. If somebody could go ahead and let me know if this is actually a true story, I'm not talking about Richard Ramirez being the Night Stalker. I understand that's a true story. I'm talking about a lawyer trying to get a confession, her going and visiting Richard Ramirez, trying to get a confession out of him to set this man free, this innocent man free out in Texas. That I don't know if that's a true story or not. If somebody could let me know, por favor, let me know because I didn't go fact check any of it. But as far as Richard Ramirez being the Night Stalker, yeah, I know that's a true story. But look, it is a good movie. I want to go ahead and let everybody know, man, it's definitely worth watching. And if you were around in the time like I was, where Richard Ramirez was out raising havoc, definitely, man, definitely go check it out. Even if you weren't around in that time, it's definitely a good story. And like I said, is the story completely about Richard Ramirez out, doing these murders and all that stuff? No, it's not. It's more about her trying to get confession. But you do see enough. It does tell the story enough. It does show, um, if you guys are familiar with Richard Ramirez, it does show a little bit about him hanging out with his primo who returned from Vietnam. And he was pretty jacked up, man. And the stuff that he would do out there in Vietnam, it does show Richard Ramirez assaulting people. It does show Richard Ramirez breaking into people's homes. It's just that is not what the whole movie's about. And it has nothing to do with detectives trying to you know track him down and bust the Night Stalker. So it's definitely worth watching. I highly recommend this movie. Good enough. Lou Diamond Phillips, I gotta tell you, man, Lou Diamond Phillips playing two roles, man, of Mexicans, homie. I don't know which one's more popular, Richie Valens in La Bamba or Richard Ramirez in The Night Stalker. Two different, two completely different roles. But I'll tell you guys this, man. Lou Diamond Phillips did a great job in playing just this complete serial killer psychopath dude. He's chained up for pretty much the entire movie. He's incarcerated, and just his eyes, his maneuvers, the way he talks, all that stuff, man. He's quite a he's quite of a perverted dude as well, man. But he plays it off so damn well to really make you think, okay, this guy is a psycho, right? I like this movie. I really do. Highly recommend it, man. The Night Stalker, Cholo Trucker, Moss movies and shows. I'll catch you guys on next one.